Hello everybody, I am Jarrett Ross of GeneaVlogger and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I will be reacting to Patrick Stewart revisits the bombing of Abbeville from Who Do You Think You Are? This is part 4 in our series following the clips on the Who Do You Think You Are channel for Patrick Stewart. In the last episode, we learned about how Patrick Stewart's father was called up to duty in France. So originally he was in the military in 1925, then he rejoined during the war, was sent to France as a way off the front lines unit that was basically building railroads and stuff like that. And then the Germans invaded France and the Low Countries and, busted through the Ardennes. And Patrick Stewart's father was called up to duty along with his unit. And on their train ride out to the front line, they ended up getting stuck outside of the city or town of Abbeville, which was being bombed by the Germans. So now that I've given that whole breakdown of a precursor for this video, I think it's pretty apparent he's probably going to be going to Abbeville, looking at photos of the destruction, which he looked at a few before. I'm hoping maybe that he'll end up talking to somebody who was alive during that time and was there, because they do that a lot for Who Do You Think You Are, and it's always super interesting. But I'm not going to say much else except before we jump into the video, please be sure to give this a like. That always helps me out. As well, be sure to subscribe and click that bell for notifications on future videos. But with all of the fun stuff said, let's go ahead and watch the video.
Using contemporary war diaries, Tim has established where Alfred was when he witnessed the bombing of Abbeville.
Go this way.
He's brought Patrick to the spot where the Coily train pulled up.
The Coily were travelling along this line here. And if you read this paragraph here, it'll give you some idea of where we are.
As the train neared Abbeville about 3 p.m., the town was seen to be in flames beneath a heavy cloud of smoke. Half a mile from the town, the train stopped, and the battalion detrained while a heavy air attack took place. It was a nasty spot, with the railway line bounded on the south side by a wide marsh, and on the north by the Somme Canal. So, leaving a party to guard the train, the battalion crossed the canal by a bridge and disappeared in the fields, from where they had an excellent view of modern war at its foulest.
It was the only safe place they could get to where they could actually keep the battalion together. People like your father basically just trying to guide the battalion into safety over that side.
That's got to be so scary.
Bombs started to fall alongside the railway line. And one man describes bombs landing in the fields next to them, and bits of tree and bits of cow raining down onto the train.
While the Coily took cover in the fields, they saw hundreds of refugees fleeing from Abbeville.
This is a diary that was kept by one of the men in the Coily.
During the raids, refugees fled along the banks of the Somme from Abbeville. It was pitiful to see them. Old men, women of all ages, and young children with a few belongings. One girl, about 18 years of age, passed through our ranks laughing wildly. She was alone and had a mad expression on her face.
By now, there are around 8 million refugees in France, fleeing from the fighting. They were regarded as legitimate targets by the Germans, who deliberately bombed refugee columns to create fear and panic.
It must have seemed like a nightmare of bloody chaos.
Yeah.
During a break in the bombing, the driver of the train drove off and never returned. Now, with no means of transport, Alfred and the troops had no choice but to retreat. They set off down the railway track on foot, away from the burning town.
The Coily, your father set off But on the way, they came across damaged trains, including a hospital train. And it was wrecked, and one man describes walking along the train and seeing two children laid in the grass and realised they were both dead, killed by the blast, not a mark on them.
And these were men who had never seen sights like this before.
No.
My father told me a story of coming upon a train that had been strafed and bombed. And he noticed as he went by one shattered window that there was a hand hanging out, a woman's hand with a ring on her finger. He noticed it as he went by. And then sometime later, coming back up the train, he saw that the hand was still there, but the finger that had the ring on it was gone. Well, I was a child when he told me this story. It both fascinated and horrified me. But I do remember something in my father's voice and face when he told me that story. There was a sense of disgust and shame and even fury. Maybe that story was about here. If so, as far as I'm aware, it's the only tale he told about this period of his life.
All right. Well, what a story. I think we are getting a pretty good glimpse into his father's service during World War II. And being that this is only the fourth out of, I believe, 8 videos, and all of them deal with Patrick Stewart's father, that we're probably going to get a couple of other good glimpses at what he experienced during the war. I guessed it in a few other videos, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see some sort of connection to Dunkirk. I imagine that's where they escape to from where they are, escaping from Abbeville to Dunkirk and then escaping from Dunkirk to the UK. But that's just a guess. But this story is certainly staying quite interesting, and I wonder if we'll be able to kind of learn anything about Patrick Stewart's father's history beyond just the war, maybe a little bit about his family life growing up or something like that. Although I'm guessing we're probably not going to. I think it's mostly going to be about his service in the war. Well, thank you so much for checking out this video. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. That'll really help me out. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It is completely free to do so. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. See you in my next video.